Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to the blue area of the moon in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the Uncanny Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble. All right, volume 69. We got, I guess, well, not necessarily, because we're doing an episode before the Venom Let There Be Carnage. So it's like the pentultimate to the pentultimate episode.
I guess I don't know. You lost. I mean, it's just 70, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
70 episodes. That's a long time.
It is.
Almost a year and a half.
Yeah, so almost there. But how's your week been?
It's been good. It's been busy, but not so busy. I didn't find some time to read some comic books and stuff. I'm finally getting into a series and I'm excited to check out. But we'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah. When you said you did some reading, I know it's been a tough couple of weeks since you haven't been able to read anything new. So when you said you did some, I was very happy for you.
Yes, I got some time and I was caught up on some of my shows. So I said, well, I'm going to use this extra time I found to crack open Marvel Unlimited and dive in.
Exactly. So let's get the network plugs out of the way so we can get this show going. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network with 8 shows coming at you 6 days a week. We've got my show, World's Finest True Believers, that we will be dropping a new episode this coming week with, I'll give a little hint. One of your Squadcast brothers is making his return.
All right.
Been a frequent guest, so I will drop that preview tweet tomorrow of what we'll be covering. But this week, I share Mondays with Ranger Alliance. They had a new episode this week, so make sure you check that out. Then we got DC Alliance on Tuesdays, Superhero Discussion on Wednesdays, Star Wars Alliance now dropping weekly on Thursdays. So congratulations to them moving to the weekly show. But also sharing Thursdays, but bi-weekly is a walk through the multiverse. Marvel Alliance, we drop this on audio on Fridays, and Slice of Film bi-weekly on Sundays. So if you want to check us out live, DC Alliance goes live on Monday nights, and this show goes live on the Geekverse YouTube feed on Thursday nights. I believe Star Wars Alliance goes live on Sunday mornings. I believe maybe sometimes Wednesday nights. I'm not sure. So Katie's probably going to hate me on this one. But they do go live sometimes. And so with that, we do have a Patreon. So if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we greatly appreciate that. We've got 2 tiers, $1 tier. Throw that and saying it's our tip jar. We're doing a good job. And then we've got that $5 tier, which gives you ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and exclusive Patreon episodes. And as you can see, we are not joined by Mr. Hines this week. He is busy doing some schoolwork. It's taking him longer than expected, but I know he's listening. So hopefully he gets it done. Hopefully next week he can join us. But at some point it is dropped. Last Ronin number 4 has dropped. So at some point, hopefully we can, our Last Ronin review can drop that for patrons, record that and drop that sometime very soon. And one thing I forgot to say, if we've got 3 solo feeds, DC Alliance, Marvel Alliance, and Star Wars Alliance all have their solo feeds, so make sure you check those out as well. If you can't join us on Patreon, but we appreciate those patrons who join us on there. We can't do this without your support. But if you can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, whichever podcatcher choice may be, we greatly appreciate it. And as always, going to plug our official sponsor for Marvel Alliance, organicpricebooks.com, for all your Omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. As I premiered last week, the new solicits have dropped, and it's a big one. We've got Avengers by Jonathan Hickman. We've got the very first ever Black Panther omnibus ever collected, the Ta-Nehisi Coates run, kind of redefined, brought Black Panther from the grounds of Wakanda into space. And I'll just leave that there. X-Men Fall of the Mutants, first time ever collected in omnibus format. I got some new DC stuff. We got Star Wars being reprinted. So again, check that out. And if you decide to frequent purchase at organicpricebooks.com, use the code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. Again, we want to thank Organic Price Books for being our official sponsor. All right. So we've got another programming note. As I hinted towards, we're on the eve of Venom Let There Be Carnage. So Brent, I'm going to let you handle this because you're going to be handling the big show next week.
Yeah, 1 week from right now, I'll be hopefully wrapping up the trailers from right this second. But so next week on Wednesday, you and I are going to do What If. That'll be episode 8 Wednesday night, and we'll go live at the same time we normally do, just doing it Wednesday. And then on Friday night, again at the usual time for going live, we will be doing our Venom Let There Be Carnage review. It'll be myself and some other members of the GUA. Unfortunately, Chris, you are not going to be joining us because you are going to be spending time with your family because that's more important.
Yes, I will be. By that point, y'all doing the review, I will probably be in my hotel room in Walt Disney World for the first day of our family trip to Disney World. So I hate I'm missing it. I will be seeing the movie at 4 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. So, and now officially, I think the runtime is now officially at 97 minutes. So I know I won't be, I won't be getting home too late to finish packing for our drive down on Friday morning. But I know y'all do great. I might be able to tune in depending on the kids will definitely be in bed. So I think it'll be a long drive. So I'll probably be tuning in the chat. But as I say next week, I will give my high level thoughts when I do return the next week. So,
yes, we will want to hear those. If nothing else, I will want to hear those. So everybody's going to hear them.
I may drop a few in the chat, but it'll be fun being the outsider looking in again. I'm glad it's not a MCU one I'm missing.
I would feel like we'd figure something out, but it's not the case. We don't have to worry about it. Because, well, it's not. It's the Sony Spider-Man universe.
Exactly. So
SSU, SMU. I don't know.
Your head
SSMU.
Your head just hurts thinking about it.
SS-MU. It doesn't work.
The SS Minnow. No, wait a minute. That's Gilligan's Island.
There you go.
All right. So again, check that out. So you get 2 doses of Marvel Alliance next week, Wednesday night, and then dropping. The audio will drop on Friday morning as usual, and then Friday night the big review, Venom Let There Be Carnage, and Saturday morning it'll drop in the audio. So another big week for Marvel, and let us get into our new episode of What If this week. So, all right. This was What If episode 7. What if Thor was an only child, aka the Party Thor episode? What are your non-spoiler thoughts?
I mean, I'm not going to say it's my favorite episode, but I think it was maybe the most fun. Like, because this episode was that's all it was. Like, the entire goal of this episode was just have fun. Like, it seemed like, with the exception of maybe the last 10 seconds, everything about it was just about having fun. And I think they achieved that. We got to see some cool character pairings that I never even thought about, let alone actually seen. We got to see one particular fight that a lot of people have debated for the last couple of years, and that was kind of fun to see. Overall, I would say probably the most fun, not my favorite. I'm going to go ahead and give that to Doctor Strange at this point, but it was a good episode. I mean, I enjoyed it enough. I'm glad they're not all with this type of tone and format, but I'm also kind of glad there was one like this.
S Bubs in the chat saying this was my 4th favorite episode. It was so much fun and reminded me of the other silly Marvel cartoons like Superhero Squad.
Yes.
Yeah, I can definitely echo. This was fun. We've had some pretty heavy episodes, the last few out there at that point. It's interesting because I remember there was a leaked basically order and titles of the episodes, and this was, I think, slated to be episode 5. And so this is obviously shifted if that leak was to be believed of when the order of the episodes were supposed to be. It was a lot of fun. It was cool seeing what Thor would be like. And again, proving how much of an impact Loki had on him and how much, kind of like referencing back to, what they brought up in Loki. Even though he can be the villain, he brings out the best in others. creates good out of what he quote unquote does as evil. My hot take is that this is probably, I like the episode. I don't hate anything about it. Even the one on last on my list is one I don't hate, but it just, if rankings have to happen at this month, I think this is my second to last episode in the sense of like if I'm ranking them amongst my favorites.
Sure, I'd have to sit down and relook at what all the episodes were and stuff. I don't have a ranking. My ranking is basically Doctor Strange, everything else.
Fair,
So
fair. S-Bub's throwing me. I would love to know what S-Bubs does. He's got all this great info. He's like he's in the Matrix. He knows exactly what's going on. The leak was wrong. They had some details wrong. They said zombies was during Civil War and it was the virus spread by Crossbones. Yep, you're right on that one. But one day we're gonna have to figure out what you do for a living because he just has all this inside info. You're right in the sense of like they all kind of together, like what ranks at the top. But if it was just a lot of fun, and I liked how not taking it so seriously. And I know some people criticize some people don't like how Thor has been since Ragnarok at that point. And this kind of leans also into what our current iteration of Thor is, kind of the silly jokester and just want to have fun. And you know, I'm here for it. I like what they did with it. It was cool just seeing him of all places, Vegas. What better way to celebrate with that?
I like how basically the entire episode was just a play on like the sitcom genre or the movie genre of have a house party while your parents are gone and you have to clean up when you find out they're coming home early. That's basically what the entire thing was. And you know what? To me, it was just fun. And yeah, it was definitely a play on the, let's say, friendly or more fun-loving Thor. And I understand why people don't appreciate that from like Thor Ragnarok, especially. I just disagree with it. And so maybe that's why this episode worked more for me. I don't need Thor to be super serious all the time. And the way he was in this is also not what he's like all the time. And so it's okay to me with having this extreme because we saw him for this one episode. Presumably we're going to see him in maybe one or two more. And that might be it. And that's okay.
Yeah. All in the game in the chat saying so as to not make S.H.I.E.L.D. Cap Marvel's reaction to Thor's arrival not seem a little over the top. Could have done a better job in depicting the damage done to Earth earlier in the episode. Yeah, I could definitely understand that.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's a fair point.
One thing I want to note is as we've kind of gone through the series, we've basically gotten to see more and more of the Watcher in the sense of like looking at like getting closer and closer, seeing his facial features, seeing his involvement. We're basically getting to the point where we know involvement's going to happen.
Yeah, you know, we're so close. I think he's not only going to be involved, but I think full on he's already had the conversation with Strange. But like think about like when we first saw him in that first episode, it's like he's all like cosmic space entity and he's getting closer and closer to the Earth, it seems. And he's now seeming to be more and more surprised at some events of what's happening, especially at the way this one ended. He was more shocked at it. So I think if we don't see him like full on completely no asterisks involved by the end of the series, I will be surprised at that.
I think we're all just expecting it. Probably if it's not the hint, it'll be by the last episode. I think they're saving that moment for that time. But so let's get into spoilers at that point. You know, we kind of see exactly. It takes a lot of, you know, this is mirroring a lot of ideas of what the first movie Thor is about, but the one change, instead of Odin taking Loki because he has pity for him, Odin basically returns Loki to the Frost Giants. And as I said, you know, this shows that Loki is the most defining part of Thor's life, and without him, his life is a bit more fun, and Loki's actions spur positive growth and change. And without him, Thor is allowed to be the bad boy and party guy.
Yeah, he's allowed, but we also, to be the party guy, we also see Loki is still a part of his life.
Mhm.
And there are so many different pairings in this episode that I really did enjoy. But my favorite was seeing a version of Thor and Loki that were like truly friends. Like
Yeah.
there's none of the animosity, none of the jealousy that either of them have ever had towards the other. Of course, mainly on Loki's side, but none of that was there. They're just hammering home the brother from another mother, and
Yep.
just I like seeing that this version of Loki had grown to be a larger, like a true frost giant.
Mhm.
And there's one moment where I thought, oh, here he comes, he's gonna betray him, right? And that's when he was on the phone with Jane. And as soon as I thought he was about to do something to betray Loki, he's just like, so do you have a friend? Can we double date? I was like, this is great. It's like the one Loki variant that doesn't betray anyone is the true frost giant.
Yeah, I just like it how tiny the phone is in his hand at that moment. It's cool. Again, this is another one. It's always amazing when you look at the credits to see how many of these stars they were able to bring back.
So many. And Natalie Portman was in. I'll be honest, I did not think it was her at first. I
Mhm.
was questioning that one, but they had so many people back.
And it opens up with Jane and Darcy in the truck, but without Eric. Eric is not there.
No, there was a phone call to him. Like she got off the
Mhm.
phone and was like, "Thanks, Selvig," or something like that. But that was it. I liked how Darcy in the truck was. She's trying to like throw whatever a card or something over and over, and when she finally gets it, she's like, "Oh, first try," and we had seen like 5 or 6.
Yeah, exactly. And I like how we. I saw some things in the episode where they were saying that how is Thor worthy of the hammer? When he's acting in this style, kind of doing it. I said you got to remember the idea of Thor being the only one who can pick it up as one who's worthy was Odin put that spell on. So this is a different version of it. So Odin never put the spell on the hammer, so it doesn't matter whether he's worthy or not. He can still pick up Mjolnir.
Yeah, that's a great point that I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, like as far as we know, the enchantment was never put on it. So technically anybody would probably be able to pick up the hammer.
Yeah. So that would be well, I mean, it'd be interesting just because we see what happens to Captain Marvel with the hammer. So
Well, yeah, you know what? Because she couldn't move it.
mhm.
The hammer got placed on Captain Marvel's stomach, and so it must have been enchanted. So forget what I said. They still enchanted it, maybe just for a different reason. But regardless, I mean, the hammer is fickle. Who are we to say what
Yeah.
makes something worthy or not worthy?
Exactly. So, Odin goes into Odin sleep, and Frigga's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go hang out with my sisters, and no partying." And and Heimdall will be watching. And I like the idea. I said, "Well, we're gonna the one place that Heimdall can see, but he doesn't care enough to see, and we're gonna go to Midgard."
Yeah, go to Midgard. Oh, Midgard. You mean Earth? Oh, they call it Earth.
I know.
It,
Always get those two confused.
we got to see Darcy back, and that was fun to see Darcy again after her just coming back and What If. And I love the let's call it the partnership with Howard the Duck. That made me laugh quite a bit. Was not expecting that one, but I enjoyed it. But who would have thought we would have had Darcy and Howard the Duck getting married in Las Vegas? Only in What If.
Oh my gosh, that was it does bring back the ickiness of Howard the Duck the movie.
Yep, sure does.
Which I'm sure that was part of the purpose for those of us who have unfortunately seen that movie and know the scenes we're referring to. As Bubs is saying, maybe only Thor can pick it up, but the worthiness isn't part of the spell. Yeah, very much could be an easy explainment there. But yeah, look at all the different. It's just when the party comes down, all the different alien races are going to Las Vegas. So it's a different type of invasion into Las Vegas. You got cameos of Yondu in the beginning, the Executioners there, as you said, Howard the Duck. We see Skrulls transform into Thor because that's how vain Thor is. He just wants to see himself more. The Grandmaster cutting a cake and is joined by Topaz carrying the disintegration stick, and Jeff Goldblum.
Yes, they even got him back.
I don't think it takes much to Jeff Goldblum, but it's just like, can you just continue being yourself? And because that's what he is. He's basically playing himself.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's what Jeff Goldblum does.
Yeah.
But it seemed to me like basically nearly every major alien race was represented.
Mhm.
I didn't notice anything that specifically screamed out Kree to me. Like they didn't have Ronan,
They
but
had the ship, one of the Kree ships. When
did they?
they
Okay,
pan upwards, one of the ships is Kree.
but the gold people from Guardians of the Galaxy, they had Rocket Raccoon making his What If debut, and I love that Thor
Yep.
still referred to him as a rabbit. That's fantastic.
Mhm.
Drax was back. Nebula was around, but she has to go check on her father. Her father's calling her. Thought that was pretty
Korg
funny.
is there.
Yes, Korg taking out Nick Fury. you know,
Well, I also like that Nebula is playing craps in order to get a new eye. That was definitely a lot of fun. With let's see, S Bubs in the chat, might have been part of Disney Plus deal. He has his own show as well. True.
certainly possible. Absolutely could have been.
I mean, again, a lot of these just as one of the, I think, podcasts I listened to today's this episode screams like, "Hey, guess what? We've got you all nearby filming movies. Can you just spend about less than an hour doing a couple of lines in the studio?"
Yeah, and I mean, it can't really take them that long, right?
No.
But when it comes down to it, this episode was just about having fun.
Mhm.
And when I looked at online and like saw what people were talking about, I honestly think it's just people wanted something serious. And I'm like, I don't know what you were expecting. He's got a hash flag for Twitter called Party Thor. Like,
Yeah.
what were you guys expecting? I don't know. Was it the best episode? No, it wasn't, but it was still a good time.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I don't necessarily need every single what if thing to be like depressing and end in death and stuff like that. A lot of, as we've said before, a lot of the comics do end like that. However, I think people would also get tired of that. It's like, oh gosh, how we're gonna get depressed today? Who's gonna die? How they're gonna take someone out? So it was a good break from those episodes. I did like when they got the matching tattoos, one saying magic, and that's on Jane, and Thor having signs, which I have a little problem because I was like, okay, how could Midgard needles be able to pierce his skin at that point? So again, this is me going way too into canon at that point, but it's also referring back to a line that Thor says that's like referenced from Arthur C. Clarke saying magic is just science that we don't understand yet.
Yeah, yeah. I was kind of thinking about that, and it's like when the first movie started, it clearly was that's the way they were going, and they've more or less retconned it a little bit to being more like the more traditional gods and magic and stuff like that, and I'm fine with that. But it was a nice fun callback.
Yeah, especially when they started thinking like referencing Norse mythology, and Thor's like, "What are you talking about? I don't know anything like that." Horse
mythology.
Horse mythology, yeah. S Bub saying, I thought it was funny that Thor and Korg and everybody went to party in Australia, Australia's MCU debut.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. I really enjoyed the fight with Captain Marvel and Thor.
Yes.
Like I really enjoyed seeing them. And one of them and him, S Bub saying Australia, remind me, they would punch each other, and then like you'd get that like true like almost Looney Tunes style map where they would go from like France to the UK or whatever, and you would see France written, and then they go to the UK and you would see that. And I thought that was pretty funny.
I also like how, and I thought the voice actress who did, Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, was pretty, I definitely could hear Brie Larson. It was a very good voice to use at that point. I love it when she calls Thor White Snake, because that, again, where Carol Danvers from that time period at that point, it definitely was lining up with that. Thor hitting Carol all the way to Stonehenge and then fighting going to Grand Canyon. The Stonehenge scene definitely is a callback to Thor: The Dark World, Eric running around naked. And then also someone I saw pointed out in one of the YouTube videos I saw that it's also a National Lampoon's European Vacation where Clark ends up knocking over Stonehenge.
At one point, Thor straightens the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and I saw it was questioned if maybe that was a reference to, like, I think it's Superman 3, where he straightens that. That was from the Slash Film podcast, and I don't know if that was supposed to be a little homage to that or not, but I like to think it is.
As some of your Squadcast guys calls peanuts with Pryor.
Yep, peanuts with Pryor. That's right.
And so I also love during this whole time we also get a few more Surtur chatting up the Statue of Liberty and then
Yes.
melting her arm off and then knocking out the power and the frost giants vandalizing the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, and then later putting it back on and just kind of like welding it or whatever back onto it. I mean, Surtur was just partnering it up with Thor, very different than what we saw.
How about Maria Hill? Basically, like you said, Nick Fury's taken up by Korg, and she's the one in charge for Shield.
You could make an argument that this is the closest to the comic version of Maria Hill that we've seen yet. I think you could make that argument, and I'd be hard pressed to argue against it. It was still fun having her be a part of it. It was fun having Coulson be a part of it. And just in general, and we've talked about this almost every week, but the voice acting in general, I thought was strong, including them.
Yeah, I don't think there was a weak voice actor or an actress for this episode, but I think I laughed really hard when the whole plan of getting Natalie, Jane and Darcy figuring out exactly how to wake up Heimdall, get Jane transported to Asgard, get Jane to where Frigga is, and then Frigga's like the mom saying, "What are you doing?" to Thor. And Thor being the kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar, trying to lie his way out of it.
Yep, completely, and almost got away with it till that hammer came back.
Till that hammer, the bedazzled hammer. Drat. But I like how it ends, Thor meeting up with Jane, asking her out, and even the Watchers and they lived happily ever after. Oh no. And is interrupted by what many are deeming Ultron Infinite. We see Vision dressed up in Ultron armor with the Infinity Stones, and this even surprises the Watcher, and it says that this Vision is an aberration that the Watcher never saw. He never saw this one coming.
Yeah, and there's some questions about this one, and I know people are like trying to figure out the timeline of where it all makes sense because they're trying to mesh like the events of Age of Ultron into the events of Thor 1. I'm like, guys, it's a totally different timeline. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't have to try and make it fit any of that. It's irrelevant.
And it was a good way, and people's like, "Oh, is this going to be the next episode?" I don't think so. I think this might be a little bit referenced in the next episode, but not until the end. But this is basically what is going to be our final episode of this season.
Yeah, I kind of was wondering. It's like, maybe we'll get a 2-parter, but like if you look back at that poster that they released at the beginning of the season, like there's still a version of Gamora, it looks like, and maybe a Black Widow that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I think the next episode is going to be Gamora. I think Gamora's either Thanos is going to die or she is going to kill Thanos because, excuse me, she's wearing his armor and carrying his double blade.
Yeah, so I guess maybe that's part of this story, but I just kind of assumed we would meet her first.
Now, being that most of these episodes have kind of rounded out, excuse me, around 30 minutes-ish, a little bit over at that point before credits roll, that's going to be a big final episode with as much of because again, we know and we've seen in the trailer, we still haven't seen Strange Supreme meet up with Captain Carter again.
Well, we haven't seen the circle shot.
We haven't seen the circle shot. And so we know who's coming with that. So we've got a lot of moving parts. And I think Strange Supreme is going to be kind of our one gathering the heroes together under the direction of the Watcher.
I could see that. That would make a lot of sense. But you commented that it'd be a big episode, a lot to do for a half hour for the runtime of the show. And I would just remind people that it would be, but we've already seen them take like multiple movies and tell them in. And super condensed versions, and not every movie is that, or every episode was that way. Zombies wasn't following a movie, for example, but it still moved really quick. Like they don't let anything sit. They go.
Oh yeah, no, it's not like I'm doubting that they can't put it together. I'm just saying, man, the stuff we still haven't seen, and neither Brent or I have watched that mid-season trailer because again, we've been very clear. We want to be the fact that we get to see the posters and knowing what the episode is going to be about. That's as far as we go with being ready for the episode.
Yeah, so, I like getting the posters. That's enough for me.
Yeah. SBub saying Ultron has become so powerful, he transcended space and time. Well, this is Vision that has transcended time.
Maybe. Yeah. Or maybe it's Ultron and Vision's body as he planned in Age of Ultron.
Hey, but he's also got the Infinity Stones too. So he is transcended a lot more in acquiring, because again, if he's got the Mind Stone, he can feel and understand where the other stones are. So, but yeah, as Bubs agrees with you, I think it's Ultron and Vision's body. Yeah, like you said, that was the original plan. So, but yeah, so 2 more episodes. So we'll, like I said, I'm betting it's 2 more episode with probably hints of revisiting this one. Oh, and another thing we haven't seen yet, Shuri and Pepper taking back Wakanda.
See, that one I don't think we're gonna pick up this year. Maybe, but I don't think it's going to happen.
That would I'm trying to fit it in and how that works well, but it's one of those things like, why did you put it in the trailer then if it's not this season?
Did they put that scene in the trailer?
They did. That's the only reason. That's the only reason I called it out.
Well, yeah, maybe I'm wrong then.
But I mean, hey, it could have been an idea. They said, nah, we're changing that one. So it's happened before. So, but all right, so. Next week, we will cover What If on Wednesday night. So let us take our first ad break. So listeners, as you know, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud. So I'm going to give you that 3 count to turn that volume down before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right. S-Bubs is saying something in the chat. I'm marking down our timestamp. What's he saying?
Well, let's see. We got based on the mid-season trailer. I think I know where it fits, but I won't spoil anything. Thank you for that. And he had also mentioned a little while ago that Natalie Portman was back after 8 years. Not quite. I mean, technically she did voiceover work for Avengers Endgame, but this is definitely more substantial than what she did there.
Quite true. All right. So news. This is probably our lightest news week in a long time. Well, I wouldn't say ever. Like, before you came on the show, Travis and I definitely had some light weeks, but I think this is definitely the lightest in a very long time. We've been blessed on Marvel Alliance that we can forgive at that point for having some light stuff, but we got some big news coming out from Disney the other day. Couple of things. Bob Chapek announces a Disney Plus Day event lineup that will be November 12th. And the first thing kind of leading off that is you and I had been talking about it. What does this mean? When is this going to happen? Well, on November 12th, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings officially drops on Disney Plus. No premiere access, no extra fee. If you are a subscriber to Disney Plus, you will get to see at your leisure Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I was really glad to see that because right before the movie came out, I had some guy wanting to argue with me that they're going to do the theatrical release and then put it on Premier Access for another $20. So I'm like, that'd be a horrible move. If you're going to do that, why would you buy it on Premier Access? Just buy it on iTunes and then you have it whether or not you're subscribed or not. But this, everyone kept saying, like, so many people kept referring to as like, well, you have 45 days and then it's coming to Disney Plus. Well, we didn't know that. They never said it. They finally said it. And I'm really glad because I really thought there would be that traditional, video on demand home release window. And I'm sure they're still going to do that because there's going to be people who want to buy it on iTunes. There's going to be people who want to buy those Blu-rays. But, just a few months after the movie comes out, getting to go to have it on Disney Plus, I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, like I've only seen it once. just been really busy, haven't gotten a chance to get it. Erin has not seen it at all, and so again, she does have no interest to see anything in movie theaters right now. So I mean, this will be my second time, her first time. So, again, you and I have been very much saying that we would love to have that option, and S Pubs agrees with us, and I do like what he's saying. Apparently, the Home Sweet Home Alone is the biggest news of November 12th.
Well, no, it's not.
For some maybe, but not us at that point. But before we get into like a lot of stuff, we'll kind of focus on the big Marvel thing besides Shang-Chi dropping that day. A special celebrating the Marvel Cinematic Universe with an exciting look towards the future. It sounds like a very quick featurette. I could see this being a 5-minute. I'd be shocked if it was up to 10 minutes. I don't see it being more than that.
The Disney Plus launched with the expanding the universe, and that wasn't very long. I don't remember how long, but it wasn't that long. And I figure, we're in for like a clip reel, a highlight reel, kind of like that Welcome Back to the Movies thing they did before Black Widow came out. And then I would think, my best guess is like that I think it'll be basically that format. Get some highlights, show a couple clips of upcoming projects, and then effectively, I'm going to call it the PowerPoint presentation at the end of a bunch of title cards with release dates. I do think one of those is going to be related to the 10 Rings. I think it's going to be a TV show. But my big question at this point, will it be only Disney Plus properties, or is it going to include theatrical releases as well?
I say, since this is strictly titled Disney Plus Day, I think this is more about building this platform, continue to build a platform. Could they do it? Yeah. Or they could maybe officially say, now that Shang-Chi is going to be dropping it, maybe they can say all MCU movies or all movies after the 45 window will drop on Disney Plus. They could make that kind of announcement.
So one thing that I wondered about would be, by then we potentially could have a second trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home.
That's been the rumors.
And it could be this is not me saying release the trailer. This isn't that. But by then it'll probably be definitively officially known that there's more than one Spider-Man in this movie. And I'm wondering if we'll find out on November 12th, a time when the previous 5 Spider-Man movies are going to come to Disney Plus.
Yeah, that could be a nice big kind of filling in the gap, because again, they've got pretty much every movie for the MCU on there except for the Spiders, right?
Yeah, and just to be clear, I meant the Garfield and Maguire movies, because I realized the previous 5, if someone actually counted it back, would have been like, well, there's Spider-Verse, there's the 2 Holland movies, and then the 2 Garfield. So no Maguire. No, I meant those, just to be clear. But maybe it would be all those movies, or maybe not Spider-Verse, but maybe all the live action ones would be making it. And it would be awesome to get to have those on there.
Yeah, if the trailers drop that, hey, guess what? If you haven't seen them yet, we got them all here right for you on Disney Plus. S-Pub saying, Moon Knight, She-Hulk teasers, maybe some concept art, maybe a little bit of behind-the-scene footage. I think, like you said, I think this is a time where they release the slate for MCU on Disney Plus for the next year.
Yeah, we're definitely. I would be shocked if we don't get our first look at Ms. Marvel, or even like in that Welcome Back to the Movies, that was our very first footage of Eternals. Even something like that, just 10 seconds of Ms. Marvel footage with an official release date. I know there's rumors of February, but I mean like an actual. Here's the day. Mark it on your calendar. It's coming.
I would say, to quash a lot of rumors that people have had regarding her power set, I want to see just one scene of her embiggening, just to shut everyone up.
I would not complain about that at all.
I just want to say, yes, she's going to embiggen again. The creators are on the set. They are giving that advice, and I guarantee if they're not signing off on this and giving as much praise as it is, there are big powers. I just want to shut so many people up with that. But yeah, it's going to be excited to see. I mean, some of the other things, Jungle Cruise will become available that day as well. So that's another one dropping.
Good movie. That movie was a lot of fun.
I haven't seen it yet, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. As we've already said, Home Sweet Home Alone, re-imaging of the original. Walt Disney Animated Studios Olaf Presents. So more little shorts about that. Trying to see anything else that stands out. A new short from The Simpsons.
The Star Wars Boba Fett.
Yep. We got it. We got to give that at that point. Since the only thing we know is December. We don't have a date. So hopefully maybe that'll finally be dated at that point, and Katie can finally start planning out how Star Wars Alliance is going to be going through this at that point.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun day. The one thing I haven't seen or been able to find, and maybe they just haven't released it yet, is what is the format of this going to be like? Are they going to release like a bunch of different little things just, at 2 a.m. or whatever time they release stuff on Disney Plus? Or is it going to be like a scheduled presentation for most of this in the vein of DC fandom?
The way they kind of have this incentive, there's going to be a feature to this, we're going to talk about this, we're going to do this. I think these are going to be, I don't think it's going to be fandom like, nor do I think this is going to be similar to the Investor Days call. I think this is all going to drop on Disney Plus, and they might have maybe some kind of short introducing kind of what the day is going to be focused on, but I do not make this be like a fandom or an Investors Day.
I mean, if I can pick, I'll log in and I'll watch the MCU stuff, and then I'll watch the Star Wars stuff, and then we'll look at that. If it's like a fandom type thing and it's a couple hours long, well, I might just take off work so I can come home and watch it. But regardless, I will obviously find out when we get closer to that time. But like say it was something starting at noon. Well, maybe I just take the day and watch Shang-Chi in the morning, and then watch the Disney Plus Day stuff in the afternoon. But we got to find out the format before that decision can be made.
Yeah, and it's on a Friday, so it obviously is a day after we typically record, so we might change up recording that week. We'll have to
I hadn't considered that, but we might be able to do that. That might work.
Yeah, so we might. So because again, we want to be right there on the news, so we'll have to, as we get closer, and see exactly how this is going to work. But again, we'll keep tuned in. But again, it was good to hear this. We had been hearing a lot of rumors of this Disney Plus Day, so now we have a date, November 12th. The fact that it doesn't give you a time yet makes me lean towards my theory is just they drop a whole bunch of stuff, and it's nothing like, oh, tune in at 8 p.m. for the big presentation. They might do that, and it might come later, but I just don't see it.
I kind of hope you're right. I kind of do, just so we can jump right to it.
And the way Chapek said, the inaugural Disney Plus Day will be a grand scale celebration of our subscribers across the entire company. And it's followed by the second anniversary of Disney Plus. This day is appreciation to the life and the mission of it. It's also Disney Plus will make its debut that day in South Korea and Taiwan, and then Hong Kong on November 16th. So further rolling out in areas that it hasn't had yet.
You think they'll announce a Black Widow TV show starring Scarlett Johansson?
Oh, you.
No, you don't think they will? Yeah, probably not.
All signs point to no. Looking pretty cloudy on that one. Sun's getting a little bit low for her right now.
The sun is getting real low on that. That's right.
All right. So, so that is the news for the week. Like I said, very light week, but again, something to kind of chew on at that point, and we'll kind of see if they add in a few extra surprises. But I'm excited to see what they have for that intro, and if it's longer than we predicted, they kind of make it a bigger deal. Great, more stuff to talk about and get excited about with Marvel.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So it's not news, but since we had a lighter news week, Brent made the suggestion about looking at, since he did some reading, and I've been doing some reading a little bit here and there, to kind of share with you as listeners, what we've been reading, and maybe make some suggestions, and maybe some things like, you can skip it.
Yeah, I basically looked back at what I've been reading over the last month and a half or so, but a lot of this has really been in the last couple of weeks. I want to start with Symbiote Spider-Man. First of all, I know you read part of that recently, because I think we were reading it at the same time.
Yep, I was able to finish it.
Okay, so did you read either of the other two Symbiote Spider-Man minis or the Absolute Carnage one shot?
I think the Symbiote Spider-Man tied to Absolute Carnage.
So the Absolute Carnage one is a one shot,
Okay.
and then there's one where it's basically him versus Mysterio, which was the first one, and then one called Alien Reality, which is him teaming up with Doctor Strange, where the world gets screwed up and out of whack.
Gotcha. No, this is the King in Black tie-in 5-issue run. It's the only thing I've read.
I know they're about to start another symbiote Spider-Man mini. I would say overall, I like the concept. It's maybe running a little long for me. You know, you keep to like when I first heard there was a King in Black mini series, which wanting to read that is why I read the others because I didn't know if there'd be any references. There was like one little subtle thing that wouldn't have mattered if you'd missed, and I liked them. I thought they were fun Spider-Man stories, but not like. Nothing I'd be like, I mean, they're not going to crack my list of like stories I want to revisit on a regular basis or anything like that. Like, I don't see me reading them again.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was good. I mean, I haven't started officially King in Black. That might be coming on my, when I'm not driving down to Florida. It'll definitely be on my to read pile. But I enjoyed it. It's definitely kind of a lot of headcanon sense of, man, he went on some interesting adventures with this during this time that we didn't get too many of the stories in the symbiote costume. But like you said, I read it. Probably not going to revisiting it. It's just okay.
Yeah, and they all take place like well before, like he has no clue it's a symbiote or anything like that. They're just okay. I will tell you, I read the first issue of King in Black and I really liked it. And we had both been waiting for basically King in Black to wrap up and then get to is Venom issue 35 of the current run, but the legacy number was 200. That finally hit this past week. So I wanted to read the first couple, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not reading like every single tie-in, right? You're only reading like the main story.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the main story and the Venom issues. Because I've been reading Donny Cates' run, and I've held off until, I think you did the same thing, held off until issue 35, Legacy number 200 dropped before we started reading it.
Yeah, I went through and basically looked at all the tie-ins and downloaded a bunch and just said, I'm gonna look at these, but I'm not committing to them all. Like the Venom versus Carnage, I'll look at the first issue of it, see how it is, and then decide. But the King in Black and the Venom books for sure. What have you read lately?
A couple weekends ago, I kind of went on a Donny Cates, basically his kind of Space Odyssey run that he did. Reading Thanos Wins, that was issues 13 through 18 of the Thanos series. Guardians of the Galaxy, which was his 12-issue run, and then Silver Surfer Black, which was 5 issues at that point. I did not read, I believe it was like the Death of the Inhumans he did. I'm not a fan of the Inhumans. And to be perfectly honest, they make a reference to it in the Guardians of the Galaxy run. And I knew enough of it saying, oh, this happened. Okay, they make a reference to it, but you really don't need to have read it. But if you do, you get kind of the full picture of what he was trying to do with this kind of cosmic saga he created with those 4 titles he was on. But Guard of the Galaxy by Donny Cates was a hell of a fun ride. Silver Surfer Black was definitely out there, but it has a very interesting connection to King in Black that I did not see coming.
Really? I did not know that.
It's not necessarily a tie-in, but Null plays a big part. Null shows up in it at that point, and it kind of is one of the big antagonists of it.
I lied. I did hear that, but no, I haven't read Silver Surfer Black. Guardians of the Galaxy, I read 3 or 4 issues of. Thanos Wins, that one. His Thanos stuff is a lot of fun.
and again, we covered,
and that's where Cosmic Ghost Rider appears.
Exactly. So you read that again. So if you really wanted the Donny Cates kind of run, Death of the Inhumans, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Thanos Wins, Guard of the Galaxy, and Silver Surfer Black is cool because the art style is really, really cool. It's just very pop-ish, kind of. You don't see it that often.
Okay. I checked out a couple of the Unlimited comics. I read the Spider-Man primer, which was basically just his origin, but then I read 4 issues of X-Men Unlimited, which that story isn't over yet. And it is over. Okay, maybe
they only do They only do 4 issues.
I could have sworn that there was something to go on. Maybe I only read 3 of them then.
Okay.
But regardless, I checked out a couple of those, and I read the 4 Captain America ones today, and read through all the way through that. And I read those on my phone, and I think for those, I looked at them on the iPad. I think I actually prefer them on my phone. Like they feel like a good phone format, which is nice because it'd be an easy thing for me to read at like lunch and stuff when I'm at work. They were okay stories, not. I'm not going to say they were like super special or anything, but they weren't bad by any means. There was some good art, some cool ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely prefer the more traditional comic book format, but I did think it was just fun to have something a little bit different.
Yeah, I read the it's kind of funny when Aaron and I had gone to see a play a couple weeks ago, but we got there early, so I started reading the Shang-Chi ones until the play started, and then during intermission, I continued reading it, and so I got through those 4 issues. It was good. I really did like the X-Men Unlimited one because I think out of all the ones I've read, that's the one that's done the most with the kind of scrolling at that point. I like the story. I think the best one out of them, I really enjoyed the Captain America one, the story itself. And if you're anyone that says, I don't want politics in my comic books, you better stay the heck away from Captain America. Then
no joke.
Oh my
Man.
gosh. Especially that final issue that dropped today that I read right before we went live. Yeah, that leans pretty hard into he makes no illusions of his politics. But they did drop a new one today as well. Venom Carnage Infinity.
Oh, I saw that there, but I haven't read it yet. How was it?
It was good. They definitely are playing with kind of like X-Men did the
Good.
scrolling. They do some interesting things with the title work of that. So again, it's Venom versus Carnage. It's going to be another one. It's not one of those one-offs. This seems to be going to be another 4-issue one. So it's like you said, it's really cool just to have it on your phone. And you and I have the same phone, or you used to, because you're now waiting for your new one.
Yeah, I'm using a temporary one.
Yeah, but on the bigger screen, it works really well. I agree with you. I have not tried it on the iPad, and I don't think I ever will, just because it works really well and visually works and is easy on the eyes for scrolling up on the phone.
Yeah, even with my 12 Pro Max, I didn't really like reading traditional layout comics on there. It's just a little too small for my preference. But yeah, like you're right. The Captain America one didn't really do that much with the scrolling. The X-Men one did a lot with the scrolling. Like it was really a part of it.
And it's also done by Hickman too, so he's definitely leaning hard and has it. What are some other ones that you've kind of dabbled into?
Well, I read a Shang-Chi 5-issue miniseries that's recently came out last year, and then a couple. I think there's another miniseries just starting with the same team, and then a one shot. And it was all right. It was touching about his family and several half siblings that he has, and it was enjoyable. I would say I probably liked the movie take on the character more, but I still liked it. And then I also checked out Iron Fist, Heart of the Dragons, which I think is just 6 issues and done. I think it was a mini, not an ongoing. If it is an ongoing, well, the first arc is definitely finished. And I would say that was pretty good and had some cool team ups and some cool stuff in it. And without getting too spoilery with it, I would just say Okoye shows up for part of it. And I really, really like what they did with her in that book.
Interesting. I'll definitely have to add that to my ever-growing list of your reading list. Yeah, the ones I'm delving into, and this is going to be a very long journey for me. My reread and eventually some new reading would be Daredevil. I started back at the beginning of the 1998 run with Guardian Devil with Kevin Smith, and
oh god.
I'm going all the way back. I'm going to read up to, again, Bendis, from Bendis to Brubaker to Wade to Soul to now Zdarsky at that point. So it's going to take me a while, and I'm not going to be rushing through this. This is something I go back and forth. I do a little bit of Marvel reading. I go through arcs and then do another arc, and then I go to DC Universe Infinite and read. I've got a couple on there. I kind of go back and forth. They're all like kind of palate cleansers for me. Yeah, Guardian Devil, I've read it many times. Great, heartbreaking story. I mean, you say Daredevil, and why isn't it heartbreaking? But man, if you follow Daredevil as much as I have, my introduction to him was really as probably many at that point was Frank Miller. But man, you know, say what you want about Kevin Smith at that point, but geez, he gets Daredevil.
Oh yeah,
so well.
I have a collected edition of that, a trade, and it's got a forward by Ben Affleck, and I always thought that was cool.
Yep.
You know, I recently read it's not on my list here, but I finished Charles Soule's Daredevil run, and I really liked it. I don't even know why I didn't finish it when it was coming out. I started it and I just kind of fell off of it for whatever reason, and I went back and caught up and just reread the whole thing, and it goes right into Zdarsky's run, but it is really good. But Daredevil, I mean, very few characters I feel like have had a string of runs with the caliber of creative team that Daredevil has had.
I mean, just look at it from starting with Kevin Smith to Bendis to Brubaker to, as we said, well, Shadowlands will just kind of, that's the blip on the radar.
No, not everything's a home run, but
not everything's a home run. It was just an event that just good concept was not really well executed. But then you pick it up with Wade and then Soule and Zdarsky. I mean, that's just a character that many people just like, oh, how can this be this popular? It's just like the writing caliber, the people who get on it, just they get Daredevil, but they always bring something different to the table to take Matt down.
Yeah, I mean that guy, Matt, he's got it rough.
He does. Who you want to say who has the worst luck, Peter Parker or Matt Murdock?
Matt Murdock.
Yes, I would fully.
Yes. The Parker luck may be a thing, but I guess Murdock wins that one. I'm giving that to him. But speaking of Peter, I do see in your list Spider-Man 600 through 605.
Yes,
you're starting something with that too.
I am starting back at issue 600 and going forward with that, and I will be including Superior Spider-Man with that. So I've got a very, very long journey ahead of me with that, but people say, "Oh my gosh, how are you going to get through that all? How long is that going to take you?" I don't care.
Yeah, it's not like you have a timeline.
No, because I know what's going on in Spider-Man right now. I am reading the Sinister War, so yeah, I know what's going on. But as I've said so many times, I literally said on podcasts I just recorded before the show, Ryan Lauer's Batman Book Club, the journey is what's interesting to me. How do we get there? Even though I've read a lot of these stories it's been a while since I've read it, so it's kind of new and old to me at the same time. So beginning with 600, the revelation of Doc Ock is back, but he's in trouble, and he's not the same Doc Ock as we know. And then moving on from there, Mary Jane coming back into the picture, which is interesting for a comic book club.
So I have to ask, have you read Superior before?
I have read half the run.
Okay. Well, you got some good stuff, but you got a lot of Peter Parker before that, because Superior really, I mean, officially he takes over in Amazing 700. Mm-hmm. That arc starts in 698, but it's people who ask me about Superior Spider-Man, I tell them start with Amazing 698. There's a callback to as far back as 600, but they will tell you what you need to know. But you got a lot of fun in front of you.
Yeah, I think I just remember reading what happened, what led to Superior Spider-Man, but I remember starting to see the pieces come together in Ends of the Earth. That one really rocked. That one really rocked me. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun books in there, but I guess that's easy for me to say. I really like Dan Slott's take on the character.
Yeah. So, but yeah, any other books you want to shout out?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much is going to cover it. I mean, I've been reading like my regular monthly stuff, but I'm a little bit behind. Like, I'm the guy that loves the Clone Saga, and I haven't started the Miles Morales Clone Saga yet. I've got a couple issues on Unlimited Save, but I was just going to kind of let a few of them build up so I could just read through, because if I enjoy it even close to as what I think I will, I'm going to want to read more than one at a time. So I'm just like, I'll focus over here and that. And I'm feeling like, man, it's been a while since I've had a Daredevil from Zdarsky. So I think we should be about due in the next week or two for another one of those to hit. That's a monthly book I really wish was like bi-weekly or something. Yeah. I'm really, really liking that book. I mean, for me, like, it's been the question of like, what was the best book out right now? Was it Daredevil or was it Venom? I don't know, but I'm reading them both and I'm really liking them.
I want to plug this for when it drops, because I read the series when it was dropping recently. When it starts dropping, I don't know if any of the issues that drop read the Beta Ray Bill miniseries. I don't know if anything has dropped on Marvel Unlimited, but I know it's fine. It's wrapped up. It's like 5 or 6 issues.
I will, as we speak, see if I can find that.
But it was a cool. Our buddy Jim from Weird Science had recommended it to me to check it out, and it was very surprisingly good. Just because I went in with no expectations.
Looks like 3 issues are out. There's Beta Ray Bill from 2021.
Yep,
3 issues so far.
If you have any kind of familiarity of who Beta Ray Bill is, this is a big, deep character dive into him.
I would say I know the basics on the character.
Yeah, I think you can do it because that's all I know enough about it, and I really enjoyed it. So
well, I'll let those last couple issues come out, and then I'll check.
And then obviously here's another one for you, and I've plugged it because it's Chip Zdarsky. Spider Shadow. I haven't
read it yet.
Highly recommend it.
I have it in my library. Haven't read
it. Again, this is the what if that I've been waiting for someone to do.
Do you know how many issues it is?
I think it'll end up being 5 or 6.
Okay, so then I may just wait for it all to come out. And then
it is officially wrapped. It is concluded at that point. But the reason I say this is what if I've been waiting for. It's not just the one-offs. This is a continuing, and the concept is, what if Peter didn't give up this symbiote costume?
Okay.
What happens? Now, yes, they had done a what if like that, but now we're really going to extend that story. And again, Chip Zdarsky, we've praised him enough already at this point. You're getting a quality product. So I'm looking forward to what is the next what if they're going to tackle with this kind of long-form storytelling. All
right, Google tells me it's 5 issues. So
5 issues, yep.
I want to say I have 3 of that one as well in my library.
Okay.
But that's definitely, with how much I'm liking Zdarsky's writing over on Daredevil, and Daredevil's probably my second favorite Marvel character. Seeing take a crack at Spider-Man, I'm like, yeah, I'll like something more recent. I'll check that out.
Yeah, it gets dark. It gets really dark.
Well, Spider-Man is one of those characters that works, from street level to cosmic and super dark to party Thor style. So I'll definitely, that one's already in my library. As soon as I get the last issue, I'm going to try it too.
Good. All right. So we gave you some books. If you've read some of them, great. If not, we've given you some good suggestions. So we might do this every couple of weeks or so, like that, maybe once a month, see what we're reading and kind of update you when news is light. So
yeah.
But yeah, let's take our last ad break before we get into Factor Fiction and Comic Book Club. So again, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud. So I'll give you that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right. Let me pull up the Factor Fictions that I put out there last week. All right, number 1, we will not see another MCU movie premiere in theaters and on Disney Premier Access on the same day within the next 3 years. 42% said fact, 58% fiction. I hope.
I mean, I hope, but no.
Yeah, right now I just don't see it. But again, I can hope and be pleasantly surprised. And that one I'll be glad to be proven wrong. But all right, number 2, within the next 3 years, an MCU Disney Plus show will win a Primetime Emmy, not just a Creative Arts. And you called it saying, you do realize the Emmy, the Primetime or Sunday. I said, I do.
And nothing has changed.
Unfortunately, WandaVision did, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier did not pick up any Primetime Emmy wins. So again, the question still stands. 76% said fact. 24% said fiction. So next time, baby.
That's all I could think is Don Cheadle saying next time, baby.
I'm really surprised someone after the one said, well, based on tonight's stuff, next time, baby. Factor fiction number 3, we will see a concept story character from What If make the leap onto the big screen, and it will have an entire movie focused on that. 64% said fact. 36% said fiction.
Okay.
All right. So hit me with one this week. So if we're going to keep to what we do in weeks and on our kind of double episode weeks, we will be taking a break from Factor Fiction next week.
And that's why mine are what they are.
Okay, perfect. So
that's I have got a running list of like ideas for fact or fiction, and I kind of changed it up like my probable order on them because I was like, I'm running out of time and I'm gonna lose. I'm not gonna have time. So we got a Venom one and a couple what if ones.
Okay, go for it.
All right, we're gonna start with what if. At the end of what if, we will get a reference to somebody will return, kind of like we got the 10 Rings will return or Thanos will return.
I will say yes.
Captain Carter.
No, I'll say the Watcher.
Okay.
Because it's simple. It's all boo hiss. Of course he's going to come back. I was like, well, it's at the end of all the James Bond movies, they always say James Bond will return. Well, of course, if he's alive at the end, you expect it. So I think it's going to be one of those.
All right. What if we'll have a credit scene?
Yes.
I know some people are probably thinking, of course they're going to have a credit scene, but I'm like, this whole what if experiment is, and I'm using that word, is very, very different. So everything about it is different. So I don't want to take anything for granted that it's going to follow any precedents.
True, I can understand that. And will I be disappointed if it doesn't have it? Just a little bit, but I won't be that upset because I already know we're getting a season 2. We know that. So
right.
So if yes. Well, out of caveat, what would you like to see as an end credits?
Well, this is not a fact or fiction, but okay. I want to ask you if you think it'd be live action or animated, because I think we're going to see Jeffrey Wright in live action at some point.
I agree.
In fact, I almost had a what if about that, but regardless, so part of me wonders if it would be like potentially Jeffrey Wright in live action going on to his next thing to watch.
That would be wild. To see that.
It would be.
That would be very wild. I don't know if they're going to go that meta.
I mean, it just like I said, I'm not putting anything.
Yeah. I could see maybe just a call back to something we thought was just a one-off. We weren't going to get a call back to, of just saying we're going to revisit this next season. They've gone on record to say that, yeah, we'll probably be revisiting some of this stuff next season. So I don't know. Don't know all which one, but yeah.
Before I ask my Venom one, I would just like to request anyone who knows of any leaks or anything like that, feel free to vote with the knowledge you have, but I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. Don't tell us. Don't send us anything.
And nor will we view any of the voting at that point, because
in fact, for this one, I will not look at any comments on it. I'm just telling you that now. So
yeah, we might turn off commenting for that. I don't know.
Venom will be the first franchise to officially join the MCU from outside Marvel Studios.
Just hearing enough reaction. I didn't read it. I hear people saying it's wild at that point. And even Tom Hardy's like, keep it quiet. This is, I mean, he knows it was going to get out at that point.
There's a whole video of him asking people not to spoil the credit scene at specifically the credit scene at a premiere event.
I say yes, just because that's what even so much talk and non-spoiler talk, the shows I listen to just are very much like, we've heard this, I know of it, but I'm not going to say anything. It's worth it. So the fact that I'm going to be enjoying this movie, but I'm really wanting to see that in credit scene, gosh darn it, I hope. I really don't like building up hope for this. I'm really trying to get my expectations, but I'm going to say fact just based on the people who are hyping it up.
I rewatched Venom, and again, like, I will never think it's a great movie, but the more I watch it, the more I can at least appreciate, like, I appreciate Tom Hardy as Venom. Like, he goes for it. He dives right into it. Do I think everyone else around him turns in their best performances? No, I don't. But I do appreciate him as the character. And yes, I would like to see Venom and Spider-Man in live action. I know I saw it once before in Tobey Maguire's movies. I want to see it again, especially with the special effects that they can do now. I like the special effects in Venom. So I'm saying yes, fact on this one, partly because I kind of want it to happen and partly because I think it is going to happen. I mean, if it doesn't happen, it could be 10 more years or more before we get another shot at Spider-Man and Venom.
Yeah, I again, my heart wants it so badly just to finally start even more reassuring, like saying, okay, we're gonna have some connection. We're gonna continue this relationship, maybe different, but the door is not closed.
But if you gave in, like my coworker who loves Venom and he couldn't handle it, so he listened to the audio. If you gave in, vote with your knowledge,
Yes.
but please keep it to yourself.
We do whatever we can on this. Do not, just like what they did with Endgame. I know they're trying to do it with Venom. Don't ruin the surprise for everyone. It's just it's I understand the whole argument. Like, we're on Twitter, we open ourselves up to. I get that, but it's just don't be that way. It's not cool.
I actually just thought of this. I think I'm going to set my phone to automatically lock Twitter out when the Venom screenings start, because you can do that on I'm sure you can do it with Android. I couldn't tell you how, but you can do it on iPhone with screen time. I think I'm going to lock it out for Thursday at, what is it, 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock is my first show.
Yeah, I'll still be at work on Thursday at 4 o'clock. I'm going to the 8 o'clock my time, so you're going to be out of it already. And I think I'm just going to lock Twitter out entirely as a reminder.
I might actually be the first person in GUA to actually say I have seen this movie.
You can lord that over me
I don't know. I did
Shang-Chi.
I get to see it before, I've so many times I'm like the last one to see it, and I host this show. So.
All I can think is I had 2 weeks and you got like 3 hours. Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yep, exactly. At that point. And yes, it's not an MC movie, it's Venom. It's okay. I like the character. It's still gonna be a fun time.
I admit it. I love Marvel. I love Marvel. So I'm always gonna want to see it. And I want to see Venom versus Carnage. I want to see that cool symbiote action, because again, I did like the special effects. Mm-hmm. So I'm ready for it.
Well, I mean, some screenings are starting in Monday and Tuesday too.
I know. I don't know. I haven't looked at any yet. If I happen to fall into one, then sure, I would go. But I mean, I love Carnage. I love Maximum Carnage. It's one of my favorite stories. It's Spider-Man 90s at its best, and I love that era of Spider-Man. So I am excited to see it. And if there's anything with Tom Holland or any of the other Spider-Mans or any illusions or anything we know, great. If there's not, okay. I mean, the movie has to be able to stand on its own. It can't live and die by the credit scene, but we'll find out.
Or it'll just become like a turd.
Oh God! No. That line does not improve. I don't care what anyone.
It doesn't improve, but I laugh every time.
Yeah, but I'm laughing at it, not with it. That's the problem.
All right, so I will post those Sunday afternoon. Be on the lookout for that. Again, we will not be doing any Fact or Fiction next week. No revealing the results of the Fact or Fiction. So I may post it a little bit longer, but so we'll take a break from Fact or Fictions next week. They'll come back the week after. So let us get into One Moment in Time, Amazing Spider-Man issue number 639. So this was an issue I was looking forward to, in the sense of what happens after, basically everyone thinks Peter stands up Mary Jane. And I thought, again, I'm glad that first page of Quesada's Heart, I'm sorry. It's just bad.
It's the faces. I will say that every time.
The faces are awful, just awful. And Joe Quesada, if you're listening, I just don't like the faces. You do great art other places. This just is not, I don't think this is peak, but like the rest of the issue.
Look at page 4. We've got Peter crouching down over the church or over the city hall, just bearing his head. Like that is a beautiful page.
Yes. And I think what I love about this issue is just how personal they give so much equal time to what Peter's going through internally, and Mary Jane gets a lot of time to kind of wrestle with what does she want after this is done. And you know what? She has full rights to be as angry and as upset about this situation at that point. But the revelation that she gives at the end of this, I was not prepared for.
Yeah, the entire thing, and it's she does. She has that full rights, that full ability, and I really, really appreciate it, because I feel like a lesser story would have just been like, oh well, of course, she she's so selfish because he was saving lives and stuff like that. And it's like, no, she's still a person, and he does. And this is one of Peter's biggest flaws is he's so focused on making up for what happened with Uncle Ben that he lets his personal relationships deteriorate to the point where he is, to use today's terminology, the toxic one in the relationship.
Yeah.
And I really felt like this showed this. Like, this showed the pain that Mary Jane went through, and that even after everything, she still loved him. She was still talking, like, she's, Anna's talking to him or talking to her, and she's like, it's Peter. He's a good guy. Maybe you should give him and you can kind of tell Mary Jane's thinking about it, she doesn't hate him. She's hurt. She should be hurt. She has every right to be hurt. They're both hurting. And it's just a situation that, ultimately, I think it comes down on Peter, and he's never going to be able to stop.
No. And I think the fact she's as angry as she does, she loves him so much in the sense that her anger is more out of disappointment, extreme disappointment. Like, let's put aside, well, of course she's disappointed and angry. He left her there and didn't show up on time. Okay. But her disappointment in the sense of, like, she knows his burden he's carrying. He will never let it go because he can't stop. The best part of him, she basically says, is who he is in that costume and what he stands for being in that costume. But the idea that she comes to the revelation that we can't ever be married. Like, we can't be married. But she says, for us, me saying I can't marry doesn't mean I don't love you and I'm not still in love with you. Don't worry about the marriage. Let's just be together. But the bombshell that she drops is the idea that I want to have she would love to have kids, but until he is willing to put that down fully, that's not happening.
Right. That's forget all the medical issues that may or may not come up of them having kids. And there's been basically both types of stories told where a kid is born totally fine, kid was born with complications as a result of his blood. She's just like, for the healthy relationship, I can't bring a kid into this. I can't do it. And I mean, it's a bit of an ultimatum, but at the same time, she's not saying we can't be together because you're Spider-Man. She's just saying we can't be married. She's still willing to commit to him, just not in that, that legal way, that spiritual way, however you want to look at a marriage. And I mean, for Peter, is that going to be enough? I don't know. Like, it certainly implies it's about to be. And then they're like, but of course, then it all hits the fan.
Yeah. And I like how he doesn't even hesitate. Like, there's not even a panel of him pausing or a couple of thinking about it at that point. He just immediately says, okay, I can live with that, but I can't live with you ever leaving me again. And that says a lot about Peter himself. Like, he doesn't even have to think. Like, he loves Mary Jane that much that if she is going to stay with him, then he has to accept this part that, yes, he may want to be a dad, but he has to accept he can't have both.
Nope. Really, maybe it's he can't have all three.
Yes.
He wants to be married. He wants to be a dad. He wants to be Spider-Man. Pick two. You can only pick two.
Yep. And then so we kind of get a kind of rehashing of what go back to present day and kind of rehashing, him revealing himself, Civil War, the shooting of Aunt May, his trying to get Doctor Strange to save it, and him saying he can't really do it. And, they basically, the doctor's saying she's not going to make it at that point, and she flatlines, and Peter, through all his might, heart compression at that point, is able to, get her back at that point from flatlining. And that's
basically did the TV thing where he just doesn't stop, and a minute later you get the beeps back on the heart monitor.
So, but yeah, that's where we leave that issue. So we'll have to see, again, kind of a happier ending, maybe,
maybe an opportunity for one.
Yes, an opportunity. Yes, but again, we have two more issues.
we do, and obviously we know their status is not together. So,
yes, so
what else is going to happen? And I am really, really liking these. Like the artist side, which I've always had that art hang up with him, but he tends to be the artist on a lot of stories that I really, really like.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have talked about stories where he's done artwork and stuff before. It's like it's him and Romita Jr. It's like their face, something about their faces just don't work for me, but I can do it.
Yeah.
The rest of it I like. So regardless,
which says a lot because we both really just hate One More Day, and we've still got 2 more issues, so jury's still out. But right now we're liking it a lot more, and I'm realizing, saying, okay, depending on how this ends up, I can start seeing why this was necessary.
And so we'll find out. And so far, I don't necessarily see anything I'd see them directly pulling for Spider-Man No Way Home, but I am glad we're revisiting it. Like I had already had the idea in my head, and then we decided to do it, and I'm glad we are. And my only hang up now is I would have read all 4 issues already. They would have been up in that list we talked about earlier instead of something else. But I'm holding to it. 1 issue. Yep. And so I'm going to have to wait longer because we're not going to have it next week, of course.
Yeah.
Between the special What If episode and the Venom review, we're not going to have it. So 2 weeks before the finale, or 2 weeks before the next issue.
Yep, the next issue. And as we said, a reminder for what we revealed last week, the next one, typically we usually do a listener vote. It was not. We've called an audible. With what we saw with the Hawkeye trailer, we'll be looking at all 22 issues of the very infamous Hawkeye run by, who is it again? Mr. Matt Fraction and David Aha. So again, that is on the horizon as well. So all right, volume 49. And you know what? I've been saying all day to some people who know I do this show, to saying, man, I'll be very impressed if I know we'll pull an hour. I'll be very impressed if we come close to 90 minutes. And look at this, an hour and 20 we're looking at right now. Man, we can pull a lot of good conversation with even just a little bit of news.
It's not hard just to start talking some Marvel. It's really not that hard.
It is not, but all right. So why don't you tell them where they can follow you at and plug your shows?
Sure. Brent Prime on Twitter. And I want to plug Supergirl TV Talk. I was on their latest episode with my friend Frank, filling in for his co-host Tim. And it's just so worked out that I've been on the 12th episode of the season every year for the last 3 years. None of it planned. It's just that's the way it's worked out. And then I was on an episode the year before that as well. So I made my annual Supergirl TV Talk. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of fun. So please go check that out. It was covering season 6, episode 12 of Supergirl.
Yeah, that's in my queue. So hopefully I'll get to that. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, definitely give them a listen. They're a great show at that point.
Yes.
Yes, and yeah, so follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga. And you can follow the show, World's Finest True Believers at Finest Believers. Again, check out the preview tweet tomorrow and see which Squadcast member will be joining up one more time into the World's Finest and what story we're going to be looking at. But you can follow this show on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network. Continue to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions, give us fact or fictions you want to have on the show. Continue to rate and review our solo feed and the GUA feed on Apple Podcasts, whichever platform of choice may be. Thank you all for joining us live in the chat. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, Brent. I know there's someone listening that's saying, wait a minute, we didn't do listener questions. That's because we did have a listener question. We had one, but I know you get ragged on our friend a little bit, and I ragged to you about it a little bit. I said, reading this question, I think he asked this question to the wrong show.
He definitely did.
But we decided to, Mr. Tim Rooney, you are our post-credit discussion tonight.
Yeah, so. He texted me the other day, like an actual text message. It was like, hey, I have a question for Marvel Alliance. Great, let's hear it. I'll put it in the notes. And then he sends me the question. He sends it to me in audio form for one thing. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So now I have to transcribe it, Tim. Thanks for that. And I listened to it, and I'm just like, Marvel Alliance. But all right, no, we'll go with it. So he says, with Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill no longer on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, what DC property would we want them on based on their record with Sinister, with Doctor Strange, and so on? and he says, "I realize," and he said this before I said anything. I realize it's a Marvel show, but these are Marvel creators that are free right now.
God, what a stretch there, Tim.
I
Wow.
feel like I've stretched it for some of these credit topics before. We're like, oh, let's talk Invincible because Spider-Man and him crossed over once, but
it happened and we did it.
It did. That's right. Well, let's talk Ted Lasso. I got nothing there. We just love the show.
It's our show, darn it. You create your own show. You can talk about whatever the heck you want.
He has his own show, the Anything Goes podcast with Tim Rooney. I've been thinking about this, and it feels too on the nose. I just keep thinking of the magic characters.
Mhm.
I'm like, that almost feels like the lazy answer, like Etrigan the Demon or something like that, or Zatanna or Zatara, and maybe a Zatanna origin story. So, like, I like the idea of those, but it just feels too on the nose.
Okay, so
I haven't thought of something better is the problem. So you know what? Screw it. Green Lantern. I want my Green Lantern movie. Let's do Green Lantern. And nobody's ever once compared Green Lantern to Doctor Strange before, so I don't see how this could be a problem at all.
Greg will probably find it at that point. I think Greg might find it. He might have some things to say about that.
I hope he hears this. I don't know if he does.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at their stuff, I have not seen too much of either one of theirs, just here and there. I mean, first ones to go. If I want to be on the nose, John Constantine, Hellblazer at that point would be.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with I would love to see, even though you're not a fan, I'm enjoying it. I have not seen the first 3 episodes of the season. I would like to see maybe them do Doom Patrol.
Okay, maybe I would like it with different people in charge of the property. Yeah. You never know.
Again, just kind of out. Again, they are out there in the sense of what they do and their writing, in the sense of like a horror, supernatural kind of stuff like that. Doom Patrol, you can kind of do something like that. So.
There we go.
Yeah. So this was your DC Alliance on Marvel Alliance question session, maybe?
It's what it feels like. But I mean, if we were going to go true DC Alliance, we need to rag on Titans for the next 30 minutes. But let's not do that. We don't have time for that.
They have a show all devoted to that, and we will. We have not forgotten. Yes, we will be there for that season finale. There. And we're not. I mean, we're kind of sorry that you've had to review this. It hasn't been as good as we thought it was going to be, and sometimes downright cringeworthy.
But I want it on the record. I gave them an out.
We did give them an out, but guess what? We are men of our word, and we will be there for that season finale review.
Which I don't even know when it is. It's coming up. It's got to be in a few
weeks.
Right?
Yeah,
it's but I will be there.
We will be there. So thank you, Mr. Rooney, as always, for being a listener and challenging us on our Marvel ideas into the DC world. So stay safe out there, everyone. We'll catch you next week twice. Bye-bye.